let's move directly into our next panel. I'm going to pass things over actually to Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, who is host of the Let's Talk Supply Chain podcast, among hosts of other things that she's doing. So I really appreciate her taking some time today to join us and oversee a panel that she was going to do at El Dorado again yesterday, that was looking at what the impact of robotic process automation and just automation in general, how that's sort of going to change the face of logistics in years to come. So I'm going to turn things over to Sarah and let her introduce her panel.
Thank you, Eric. I am so excited for this today and that we were still able to do our panel today. You guys can hear me okay?
That's fine.
Yes.
Oh, good. All right. So thank you, Brian, for putting all of this together. I think this is, just an amazing thing. And we don't have a lot of time, so let's get right to it. So our panel is The Bots Are Coming, How RPA Might Change the Face of Logistics. So before we dive in, let's get to know the panelists today. Brian, you didn't get a lot of time to prepare, so I'm going to kind of throw a question in here, but I know that you've got this covered. So let's start with who you are, what you do, and besides your own tech, what is your favorite tech on the market? Okay, Brian, I'll give you some time to think about that. So Matt, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, my name is Matt Motzik. I'm CEO of RPA Labs. And what we do is we provide software bots for the logistics and supply chain industry. The tech that I'm interested in are the robots that actually clean up the ocean. I love seeing that. And
that's a good one.
If we can get a little bit more commercial on that, maybe get Maersk, to maybe add a cleanup, on the back of their vessel.
Yes.
Clean up some, while we're going across the Pacific, let's go ahead and clean it up on the way, right?
Love it. That is a great one. Welcome, Matt. Now, Jenna.
Hey, I'm Jenna. I'm the co-founder of ShipMax. We provide plug and play automation for text extraction. So, for example, taking data from bills of ladings or whatever. Favorite technology? You actually told me you were going to ask this, and I know. Let's say maybe keeping in the context of supply chain. I think one of the coolest bits of technologies I've seen, and kind of cheating a bit because it's an integration partner of ours, is a company called Sedna. It's an email client, but it's built for group email and it's programmable. So you can really sync that up with your ERP systems and do some pretty cool stuff around that.
Awesome. Love that. All right, Brian, you're up next.
Right,
everybody knows who you are at this point.
I'm not going to reintroduce myself. I'll jump. So I'm looking at the list of people that have presented so far, and I think we have 4 of our integration partners that we've already talked to. 5 of them, including this panel. So I'm gonna avoid the industry a little bit because we
I think so.
Too many. I'm honestly gonna say Google Chrome books. So I'm sitting on my desk right now. I have my Chromebook that I use every day and a Mac that I'm using for this session. And
nice.
The thing I love about the Chromebooks is, and this does tie back to the industry, is they are truly plug and play, right? You turn it on.
Yeah.
I know if I drop it, I'm going to be able to just pick up the next one. And, at some point when we look at all these standards and all this automation, it's really so when there's a massive shift in the industry, like like the virus or the tariffs, we should be able to do the same thing amongst our supply chain, right?
Yeah.
And right now, supply chains work a lot more like if you lose your Mac than they do like if I lose my Chromebook.
Absolutely. I love it. I knew you would nail that question, even with no preparation. All right. So while I was doing some prep for this panel, I came across a quote from Guy Courtin on LinkedIn, formerly of Infor, and I just want to throw this by you before we get into the panel. So unfortunately, I believe AI and machine learning have been hijacked by marketing efforts. We throw around the terms too easily, almost too lazy in our thinking. There has always been a need to infuse numbers and math into strategy, operations, supply chains, marketing, selling, and all aspects of business. The power and reach of the math has grown in large part to digitalization. End of the day, RPA, we are trying to conduct business in a profitable manner. And so that leads me kind of into my next question. You know, tell the audience why RPA is not like AI and machine learning, and why is it more practical and achievable to be more profitable? And I'm going to start with Matt on this one. Matt, you're muted.
Sorry.
There we go.
I think that AI and machine learning are powerful. I think that, however, I think AI, like the words digital and digitization, have been oversold. And you know, when a company, you know, says the word digital, or AI, it's almost like, you know, they're putting something behind the scenes, and they're doing things behind the scenes without someone knowing. A little bit with RPA though. RPA is really technology running scripts that you can actually see things happen. You can see, you know, the progress. You can see it working. So I think that's a little bit different, let's say, than AI and machine learning. But just you know, let's be clear. Robotic process automation requires AI and machine learning to really make it happen. So it has to be used, you know, within the RPA realm.
Awesome. What about Jenna? Do you want to jump in here?
Yeah, so I'll just kick off some definitions to make sure everyone's on the same page. Basically, when I think of RPA, I really think of back in the day when you're recording a macro on Excel, you just run through some actions and it just repeats it. So yeah, I do actually think you can have pure RPA with no intelligence at all baked in. And actually a lot of vendors in the market are in that position. And then I think where, I hate the word AI, but let's use machine learning. Where machine learning can come in is any task which just requires a little bit more, let's say, intelligence around it acting, rather than just a kind of sheer rule-based thing. And so I'd say there's a kind of newer breed of automation softwares which include that machine learning. And coming back to your question on how that can make you more profitable, let's say there are some highly repetitive tasks in logistics. Let's say in our case, like data extraction, very simply, if you can automate some of those tasks, it just helps you scale up more efficiently. So you need kind of less human bodies doing those automated tasks for you to handle the same amount of shipments.
Absolutely. So why don't you like the word AI? Do you kind of agree with Guy that it's over marketed, or?
I think very few companies are using true AI. There's probably a lot more machine learning. It is a marketing phrase.
Got it. Brian, did you want to jump in here with any of that?
Yeah, so, well, I agree that AI is a term without a definition. Whenever you have that, it's a little scary. But what I would say about RPA, you know, I think, and I'm going back to sort of my role as, you know, a former CIO of a forwarder, is there's technology that you can implement, like sort of machine learning for analytics, that you measure in months or years, and you do a long project, and at the end you probably have something. With RPA, it's like if you put in an RPA solution on Monday and you don't see that your world's better on Tuesday, you can change it. But that's the time, not necessarily the time for ROI, but definitely the time for, like, you know, if you're using Jenna's thing, yesterday you were typing in, you know, a bill of lading, and today you're not typing in a bill of lading, or,
right,
you know, Matt's bot answering an email that yesterday you were answering by hand. So you very clearly know whether you're getting a benefit very, very quickly. It's much more precise than those other terms, which are sort of broad-based and, you know, can be co-opted by marketing really easily.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought it up, because it puts it into real terms as to really the profit and the benefit of using RPA in your everyday. And and also when you're supposed to see not necessarily the ROI, but when you're going to see that benefit really work in your favor. And like you said, you know, there's something wrong if you're not seeing it within a couple of days. You know what I mean? Like if it's a week down the road and you're not seeing the benefit, then there's something wrong, and you can deal with it right away, I guess.
We may have just set a very high bar for Matt and Jenna. see what they have to say about
Do you
that.
guys want to weigh in on that before I move on?
I'm up for that challenge.
Oh, yeah? All right. You heard it here, folks, on the panel at Virtual El Dorado. Jenna has taken on that challenge. All right. So next question, actually, I'm going to start with you, Jenna. We're talking a lot about talent in supply chain. And I think there is, a big gap between not being able to find talent and then talent being actually, or jobs, I guess, being reduced because of RPA, especially in the 3PL world. So what are these realities? 3PLs are very human dependent. So what exactly is RPA going to do for supply chain jobs?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of kind of fear around this, and I don't think there needs to be fear. I think, as you kind of alluded, there is a shortage of talent. The industry is still growing. It is a skilled job. And as that trend continues, automation will just help companies adapt to that new equilibrium. I also think for jobs, it will make those jobs a nicer environment to work. So what we commonly see is that, these are skilled people, and a bunch of their time right now is spent doing really low admin, repetitive data entry or whatever task. You can take those away and start giving them the ability to add better value to their customers. And also don't forget, there are new tasks that are coming on the market as a result of these technologies being in place. So for example, let's say more and more customers are looking for kind of better quality reporting or something like that.
Right.
And as you start, as more customers, let's say right now you might give your largest customers SKU level reports. You do not physically have the labor to provide that level of service to everyone. So automation, one, allows you to kind of step up and provide that service to everyone, but then also the humans that are not having to do that task anymore can come and add the extra analysis and service and input on top of that to keep providing that customer service. And I think it's really no secret that the cost of acquiring a new customer is far greater than retaining your own ones. So yeah, I don't think we should be too scared about automation really impacting jobs over the whole.
Okay. No, I like that. I mean, there, like you said, there is some fear, so how do we equate that to actually growth that's going to benefit everybody? And what does that mean, right? Is it just about reskilling? I mean, that's a whole different panel and a whole different discussion, but so I think just because of time, we're going to go to the next one. Matt, I want to start with you. So what are some of the common use cases that you've seen so far on how logistics companies are using RPA?
Well, I think you got to look at also the current issues right now leading up to the use cases. So for instance, I'm just going to take logistics companies as an example. There's a couple different problems that they're facing. One is they're receiving too many emails on a daily basis from customers. Even though the logistics company says, go to my portal and get a rate, the problem is that all these other shippers are, all these other forwarders and logistics companies are saying, go to my portal. So what do is they go back to what they do best, and that's emailing out blind copy, the freight forwarders or logistics companies, hey, can I get a rate? Or where's my shipment? So it seems to be, that's a little bit of the email overload. The second piece is really more, these logistics companies have cube farms, right, of people just rekeying and inputting, like bills of ladings, arrival notices, commercial invoices in. It's all about, to us, it's about, basically reading those documents, via RPA, reading, interpreting, and then also just migrating that metadata, into the TMS or the ERP systems. So those are just some common cases. And then, the other ones are just like workflow, just automated triggered workflows. And these are just things that, just common, common even TMS systems don't even have, which is crazy because, these larger TMS systems, they have 60 screens, right? They should
Right.
only have 6 or 7 screens if
Yeah.
RPA and automated, processes are working. There's no need to double key in, the same different formats, from the documents. So just to give you a little example, one of the things that we did was, back to the, the document side, right? We have a freight forwarder that does around 2,000 shipments a month, and they have so many people just rekeying and inputting directly into the system. So what we're doing is we're basically automating their whole process, going from, someone going into the document and rekeying everything in. Instead, what we're doing is our RPA is automatically opening up the attachment from the email, opening up that document, identifying and classifying what type of document it is, and then taking that metadata and pushing it into systems.
So sorry, I'm just going to jump in here with we've got a question from the audience, and I think it's kind of timely on this one. So how do we evaluate logistics partners and customers' capabilities? When you engage with someone, how can you know that you're up against what you're up against before you dive in and commit to a plan? And that question came from Stephen Wart. Do you want to just answer that, since you were kind of talking about the examples?
Yeah, to me, I think shippers are now evaluating logistics providers on response time, quite honestly. If you're taking too long to respond to a quote, to basically get shipping documents out back to the customer, you're taking way too long. So, back in the 90s and 2000s, maybe 24 hours was fine, but now it's into the minutes to hours for us. So
Awesome.
I think that's how RPA can really speed up how companies react to and respond to their customers.
Jenna, I know you want to jump in here on this one.
Yeah, so and I think coming back to like how I think it's a good question on how customers can evaluate all these different vendors. I think there's two things to this. I think one, I really encourage people to go back to the problem they're trying to solve and really detail what that is, because I do see a lot of the time when people go out to procure a software and people throw all these kind of features at them that actually are great but not valuable in solving that problem. So that will just keep that scope really clear. And then second to that, most companies, especially if you're thinking about the place we lie, like in data extraction, will be able to run a small pilot to show you the quality of that before you have to go and commit to those kind of annual contracts.
Right. And then I guess on that same note, are there misconceptions that need to be overcome when it comes to RPA? Like, what are some of the objections that you guys are coming across?
The biggest thing I have seen is companies seem to know that they have a problem on this and is picking the right tool for the job. So I've usually seen people been burned by this before from one or two things. Either one, they're using just an RPA to do kind of data extraction or OCR, and that's tool rule based, or they're using a very generalist product which has kind of promised them the earth, but actually in reality is not suited for the task. So I think that's the biggest thing we've seen, just failed projects. And so yeah, and I think that comes back to that, I guess, really validating that the technologies work, go and run pilots and see the data extraction, and you should be able to see that pretty quickly with a technology that works.
Well, and what about not using the solution to the fullest? I think that's a really big issue. And I think Matt wants to jump in on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I've seen is actually, there's actually been articles on adoption rates of RPA. And I think it's coming from the companies that just sell the frameworks only to the companies.
Okay.
And so when the companies say, great, I just purchased an RPA, framework, the framework company or the company doesn't say, oh, well, they do it after the fact, but they say, now you've got to hire developers, and you've got to hire consultants to implement that framework in order for your business. And I think that's something that Jenna and my company are doing, is that we're actually building, basically full solutions to where they don't have to build out a framework. They don't have to, hire developers, to do that. It's pretty much already built in and ready to go.
Awesome.
Can I jump in on that one, Sarah?
Yeah.
A little bit? Just so, from an integration standpoint, we sort of have that same approach that, you can go buy an EDI tool, but it doesn't have all the logistics knowledge built into it, and you have to still hire to that knowledge. And I think what a lot of industry-specific tools do, whether RPA and integration, it's the same, is bring what are you supposed to do? What are the best practices, right? How, anybody theoretically could drop a couple $1 million into a machine learning team to recreate what Jenna has, but why the hell would you?
Right.
Just buy it. And I think that domain expertise is really the thing that, if you're evaluating partner, same as hiring somebody to move your freight, anybody can be a freight forwarder, but not everybody can get your shipment to move during peak, right? And that level of expertise, I think, is huge.
Great. Well, so we've actually got quite a few questions, and I know that we've only got probably about 10 minutes or so. So I'm going to get to some of the audience questions right now. So Mike Cadio says, I'm talking to a lot of RPA solution providers that have prospects coming out of the woodwork, but they think RPA is a cure-all. How many engagements are you seeing where the client process really isn't a candidate for RPA because it is in constant flux versus processes that are well suited for RPA augmentation? Do you want to take that one, Brian?
Can I pass on that one real quick?
Yeah,
I was
sure.
doing some
Matt,
of the administrative
Jenna,
background of running the show. I apologize.
I can answer quickly on this. I mean, I think it's really understanding, again, going back to that problem and what it is you're trying to solve. So for our company, we only handle data extraction, really. And then when you need to go and automate tasks within systems, we say, actually, now you should look for a vendor for that. So
look for somebody else.
Yeah, you need to speak to someone who's very frank about what they can and can't do.
Yeah, so it's really, up to the customer to really identify what those issues are first and sort of work from there, right? Because some solutions are going to work for some of the tasks that you're doing, and some are going to work for those tasks once they are automated for you, right? Further along the chain. Matt?
That's exactly how we come into companies. We say, where's your biggest leakage, on a per month basis? Where's your biggest inefficiencies? What's causing a little bit of your pain points? And so, that's what we do first. We're a little bit different, I think, than Jenna. I think we're just more of like maybe like an RPA facilitator, to where we're actually doing a combination of conversation, email, workflow, and documents. So we're really kind of along that whole the whole path of RPA. But you're right. You have to know what you want, what problem you want to solve
first, right? I mean, there's a lot of challenges. We've got a lot of different areas that we need to take a look at. And it's really about identifying what those pressing ones are first, and then, starting to look at the tools that can help with that. And then again, down the line. So Nick Chubb says, do any panel members have a sense of the financial cost of manual processes and errors today? And what that might look like with the high adoption of RPA? Matt?
It's a $418 billion market.
Wow.
That's operational costs. That's ocean. That's basically all of transportation. So that's how big the market is. And
wow, that's huge.
Yeah. And so if you can, at least take 5% of that out of the market, 10% out of the market, I mean, that's really huge.
So
awesome.
Think about it. Think about this. It's always the sort of way I think about it is when somebody is double keying and swivel heading between two systems.
Yes.
That time that they do that, I don't even care, to be honest. That's not the cost. The cost is when they miskey that arrival date, and then there's an email sent from the shipper that has the software provider on it, it's got the forwarder on it, it's got the 13 vendors on it, and it's this and that, and then you have to go attend a data quality session, and you have to bring your executives. That money, the money of the explosion of the emails and the cleaning up of the messes,
Yeah.
to me, from an operational standpoint, that was what we always worried about, right? Like it was the 100 emails that come from the one mistake that was so much worse than the one employee's time to type the data in.
Not including the phone calls.
Oh my God, yeah, exactly. So you take all that,
Yeah.
right, to not make the mistake because the robot is going to be more consistent is priceless.
You can look at any technology out there in the industry, but RPA and integrations are going to change the way logistics companies work today. Pretty soon, like in 5 years, you'll be able to, as an operations person at a logistics company, you'll be able to say, do I want to do this or do I want a bot to do this? And then you can just relegate whatever the manual task is, to the bot to actually, do some other things. So I think there are some, it is going to definitely change the way logistics companies work.
Well, and I think that, it's taking it from a reactive environment into more of a proactive, predictive environment is where we all need to get to anyways, because we are in a chain, right? Supply chain, right? Everything that we do affects different parts of that chain. And you're right, Brian, if we make one mistake in one area, it explodes and there's a huge mess to clean up. And with the technologies and different things that we have out there, we shouldn't have to do that anymore. I mean, eventually. Kind of wishful thinking, I guess, at this point.
Eventually.
We're getting there. So Nailesh says, companies that have in-house RPA teams, are you guys open to working with them for specific projects, or do they tend to complicate the process? Good question.
So do you guys want me to take this one since I'm not selling an RPA solution and they're all going to have to go talk to those teams? Because I can tell you what it's like from an integration standpoint. When we go into a company, because most forwarders have some sort of EDI or integration in-house already. And what we find is that early days, there is a lot of change resistance. There's a lot of, hey, we're here to do this. Are you telling us we're not good at our job? Is there, are you just outsourcing our function? And what we work very hard to do at the beginning is establish that, no, we're here to supplement and augment, and maybe you won't be quite as hands on the keyboard, but there's still a lot of institutional knowledge and depth that's important. And what we find is that it's our job as software vendors to make those people into allies where, I like to say to my team that at the first QBR, if the executive says they're going to fire us, that person should threaten to quit. That's how you know that you're providing value to the team as well.
Right.
So yeah, there's definitely change management and definitely resistance when there's an in-house team. Anybody would have that. It's natural. You have to earn that trust.
That's a great answer and change management is coming up in every single conversation that we're having. It's a leadership skill that everybody needs to have, because at the end of the day, everything's changing so fast, whether it's RPA, AI, machine learning. And that is really going to be a key skill to be able to navigate those waters and figure out what's good for your company, figure out what's good for your teams, and how we can all collaborate and sort of make that happen. So I don't have a name on this one, but this is a really good point. So this person says different logistics companies may use different technologies, and, working at a 3PL for as long as I did, I know this to be totally true. They've got different systems, WMS systems, TMS systems, accounting systems, that kind of thing. So he's saying, can automation solve this problem to bring everyone under the same umbrella so that users do not need to go from different platforms to choose different carriers, or I guess, different functionalities within their companies?
Well, I think Brian has a really good product for this, with the integration solution that he has. I can say that wherever there's not an API, then that's kind of where, RPA kind of comes in, is using those software bots to integrate between systems that are not able to use a EDI or API. So I kind of consider RPA as API on steroids, quite honestly, with how you can kind of connect systems with software bots.
Yeah, that's a really great analogy. Jenna, did you want to jump in on that one quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I do think, whether it's RPA or kind of integrations, yeah, absolutely, all these automation technologies can sync up the systems.
Awesome. One last question from Amir that I just saw. RPA versus orchestration. Does anybody want to jump on that one? Is there a difference?
I can. Yeah, I mean, so orchestration, think about the whole swim lane. RPA could be dealing with an entire business process, but often is dealing with a piece of the business process. So you think about it, orchestration might be everything coordinating to, whether it's from origin all the way to delivery or whether it's just origin onto the ship, that you could have an orchestration, and then you may use RPA and integration and humans and physical robots all within that to solve different pieces of that orchestration.
Yeah, and that's a really important piece, right? We have to remember that it's all of those different pieces that really are going to collaborate and move everything forward. Okay, so before we wind this down, I don't want to stop the conversation, but I kind of have to. Time is dictating. I'm going to let all of you guys answer. What is one task that everyone in this audience needs to look at in their own supply chains that could be automated right away, that would bring efficiency and cost-saving opportunities? Jenna, go.
Manual data entry from documents.
All right, Matt?
Customer response, because if you can respond back in the customer first and be the early bird gets the worm, then you will get the business.
And customer experience is everything these days, right?
Yes.
Dictates it dictates everything down the chain. Exactly. Brian?
Freight payment. It's boring, it's not customer facing, and it's a great place to experiment because it's a pure cost center where you can just save money.
Interesting.
And if you screw up your first project and it's freight payment, it's only your vendors, not your customers who are upset. So that's why I like to start there.
Good point. Good point. All right. Well, thank you everyone for the panel today. I think it was a great discussion. Hopefully the audience got a lot out of this too. And then I guess it's back to Eric.